He didn't just replace her priceless books with fakes. Piece by piece, while living in her house, he tampered with her medicine too, making her sick, making her seem confused, so he could steal everything she'd spent a lifetime protecting. I'm Victoria, and the stories I share, they stick with you because they're real, and sometimes reality is more shocking than fiction. Today's story comes from a woman I'll call Beatrice, a client who became something more, a confidant, a truly remarkable woman, quiet, almost fragile on the surface, but underneath, steel, pure, unbending steel forged in the fire of betrayal. What happened to her? It's outrageous. It's the kind of thing you think only happens in movies, but it happened to Beatrice, and how she fought back. It's a masterclass in righteous fury channeled into devastating precision. You absolutely need to hear this. Stick with me, subscribe right now, you won't believe how this ends. Beatrice shared her story with me over many cups of tea, her voice, sometimes trembling with remembered pain, other times, hardening with an icy resolve that sent shivers down my spine. She asked me to share it, a warning, maybe, but also a testament to the strength you can find when everything is taken. Now I want you to hear it, directly from her, in her words, feel the weight of it, the injustice, and the cold fire of her comeback. Here is Beatrice's story. A transition to client's voice perspective. My world was built on paper, and ink, and time. I was an archivist, a rare book specialist. For 50 years, my hands, they knew the feel of centuries-old vellum, the smell of agging bindings, the delicate weight of history. My home wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was a sanctuary, filled with first editions, signed letters from poets long gone, documents that whispered secrets of the past, each piece a treasure, not just for its monetary value, but for the story it held, my legacy, my life's work, condensed onto shelves, lining the walls of the house my grandfather built. I lived quietly, especially after Arthur passed. My husband, he understood my passion, my companion, gone too soon. The quiet, it deepened. My world shrank a little, made comfortable by routine, and the company of my collection. My health, well, it wasn't perfect. A persistent cough, shortness of breath, something respiratory, chronic, manageable most days, but it made me seem, perhaps, more frail than I felt inside. Then came Julian, my sister's grandson, my grandnephew, young, handsome, full of charm. He worked as an appraiser, said he specialized in rare books and antiques. Convenient, wasn't it? He started visiting more often after Arthur died, bringing flowers, asking about my health, offering to help around the house, so thoughtful, so kind, or so I thought. He expressed such interest in my collection, said it needed a proper, updated catalogue, for insurance purposes, for posterity. He offered to do it himself, a labour of love, he called it, for his dear Aunt Beatrice. He brought his girlfriend, Chloe. She was quiet, intense eyes, said she used to be a conservator, restoring old documents, another perfect fit, wasn't it? I trusted him, why wouldn't I? He was family, my own flesh and blood, sharing my passion. Eager to help his agging aunt, I gave him keys, free run of the library, the basement archives. I showed him everything, my treasures, my vulnerabilities, laid bare. He'd spend hours in the library, cataloguing, he said, making notes. Chloe would sometimes join him. They'd work quietly, respectfully, or so it seemed. At the same time, my breathing, it got worse, much worse. The attacks came more often, lasted longer. My usual inhaler, it didn't seem to work as well. I felt foggy, confused sometimes, which wasn't like me. My mind, my meticulous archivist's mind, had always been sharp, razor sharp. Julian was so concerned. He started managing my prescriptions, picking them up from the pharmacy, organizing my pill box, said I was getting forgetful. Maybe he was right. The fog, it made it hard to be sure. He'd gently suggest I wasn't up to managing things anymore. The house, the collection, too much for me now, he mentioned. delicately, perhaps he should have power of attorney, just to help with bills, just to ease my burden. He brought his own doctor around once. When my regular doctor was on vacation, this new doctor seemed quick to agree with Julian, suggested my breathing issues, my confusion might be signs of decline, cognitive decline. Friends who tried to call, Julian would often answer, explain I was resting, not feeling well. He'd subtly discourage visitors, said I needed peace. Quiet, slowly, carefully I was being isolated, cocooned in concern, or so I was led to believe. Then the little things started, a silver picture frame missing, a small porcelain figurine gone from the mantelpiece. When I asked, Julian would feign surprise, suggest I'd misplaced them, that I was getting confused again. Gaslighting, I know the term now. Then, it was just bewildering, soul-destroying. He started talking more about the value of the collection, how selling a few pieces, minor pieces, could fund better care for me, maybe even a nice facility, where I wouldn't have to worry about the big old house. Each suggestion, delivered with such apparent love, such concern, it chipped away at my certainty, at my reality. Was I truly failing so badly? Was he really just trying to help? The fog, the illness, the isolation, it was working, exactly as they planned. But they underestimated me, they saw frail, they saw confused, they didn't see the archivist, the woman who lived by detail, by evidence, by the truth hidden in the paper, in the ink. The turning point, it wasn't dramatic, not a sudden confrontation, it was quiet, like them, like their methods. I was upstairs, resting, supposedly resting. The breathing was bad that day. Julian thought I was asleep, or perhaps too out of it to hear. He was in the hallway, just outside my door, on the phone, talking to Chloe. His voice wasn't the gentle, concerned tone he used with me. It was sharp, arrogant, cruel. "She hasn't suspected a thing," he was saying, a low chuckle. "The old bat's completely lost it. Thinks her precious first folio Shakespeare is still sitting downstairs." A pause. "Yeah, Chloe, your copy is brilliant. Good enough to fool anyone, except maybe an expert. And who's gonna look that close now?" My blood ran cold. First folio, replaced. He went on. The doctor bought the cognitive decline bit hook, line and sinker, especially since her breathing's so much worse. Switching the inhaler meds was genius, babe. Pure placebo, and watering down the other pills, chef's kiss, makes her perfectly suggestible for the conservatorship hearing. Conservatorship, medication tampering, placebo inhaler, watering down my pills, making me sick, deliberately. Then he said the words that ignited the inferno inside me. All this dusty old paper, worth millions, and she just sits on it, pathetic. Soon it'll all be ours. House, books, everything. We'll sell it off fast. Vigas, here we come. Dusty old paper, pathetic. Something inside me snapped, not into despair, not into fear, but into rage, a cold, sharp, analytical rage. The fog lifted, instantly replaced by blinding clarity. The archivist, the historian, the protector of truth, awoke. They hadn't just stolen my treasures. They hadn't just lied and cheated. They had tampered with my health, my mind, my very life, for money, for Vigas. They had dismissed my life's work, my passion, my legacy, as dusty old paper. That I could not forgive. That demanded not just justice, but retribution, precise, devastating retribution. They thought I was frail, confused, declining. They were about to discover just how sharp a meticulous mind, fueled by righteous fury, could be. My illness, the weakness they exploited, it became my cover. I pretended to decline further, leaned into their narrative, appeared more confused, more dependent. All the while, my mind was racing, planning, gathering. Julian, in his arrogance, kept his business supplies in my house, easier access, he probably thought. He stored blank sheets of period-accurate paper, sourced illicitly, No doubt, in the climate-controlled basement archive, paper Chloe used for her forgeries. He also kept containers of specially mixed inks, replicating historical formulas. He didn't know, nobody knew, about my little side project from years ago. Back when forgery was becoming a bigger problem in the rare document world, I'd worked on archival security, developed a chemical identifier, almost invisible, odorless, designed to react only when exposed to moisture and a specific wavelength of ultraviolet light. It was meant to be subtly embedded in archival materials. A silent alarm against theft or forgery. I'd synthesized a small batch, tested it, documented it, then shelved the project, until now. My breathing was still compromised, thanks to their tampering, but my resolve, that was stronger than ever, moving carefully, late at night, when they were out or asleep, I accessed the basement archive. Wearing gloves, a mask, moving with the slow deliberation they mistook for frailty, I found Julian's stash of blank paper, sheets meant to mimic 17th, 18th, 19th century stock. I took my identifier, a clear liquid, and I carefully, meticulously, applied a minuscule amount to the edge of every single sheet. It dried instantly, invisibly, a chemical time bomb, waiting for the right trigger. Then I started documenting. Everything. I used a tiny spy camera, hidden in a clock radio, positioned in the library. I recorded their conversations, their smug admissions, their plans, their mockery, Julian bragging about fooling the doctor, Chloe complaining about the difficulty of forging a specific author's signature, details, evidence. I also addressed my medication. Secretly, I obtained new untampered prescriptions from a trusted pharmacy across town. Using my old doctor's original script, I switched them, took the real medication, kept the placebos and diluted pills Julian provided, sealed them, dated them, evidence. And I started feeling better, clearer, stronger, but I didn't let it show. I continued the act, coughed more, acted more confused, agreed meekly when Julian pushed the conservatorship evaluation, letting him think he was winning, letting him walk right into the trap. He scheduled the evaluation, his chosen doctor, plus a court-appointed evaluator, to be held, where else, in my library, surrounded by the evidence of my treasures and my supposed incompetence. I made one call, a difficult one, to Dr. Aris Thorne, a renowned specialist in respiratory illnesses, and also an old friend. We, fallen out years ago, a misunderstanding fueled, I now suspected, by Julian's subtle poison. I explained, briefly, urgently, that my life, my legacy, depended on him being there, as a medical observer, representing my interests. To my relief, he agreed, intrigued, perhaps, by the desperation in my voice. The day arrived. Julian was practically buzzing with anticipation. Chloe hovered nearby, looking smug. The evaluators arrived, Julian's doctor, the court official, and then Dr. Thorne. Julian looked momentarily surprised, annoyed, but couldn't object without raising suspicion. We sat around the large library table. Julian presented his case, his fabricated concern, his doctored notes. His hand-picked doctor nodded along. Julian pointed to some of the valuable documents on the table, examples of assets I could no longer manage, a supposed letter from Mark Twain, a page from what he claimed was a rare botanical text, all exquisite forgeries by Chloe, on the very paper I had treated. I played my part, seemed confused, distressed. I coughed weakly, reached for a glass of water Julian had thoughtfully placed nearby, and then my hand trembled. The water accidentally spilled, splashing across the corner of the Twain letter and the botanical page. Julian started to fuss. Chloe shot him a sharp look, but I just looked down, seemingly bewildered. "Oh dear," I murmured, "clumsy me." Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out a small pen-sized ultraviolet light, a tool I always carried, an archivist's habit. "Let me just see if the ink ran," I said innocently. I clicked it on, aimed the beam at the damp corner of the Twain letter. Where the water had touched the paper, a bright, unmistakable, Lurid purple stain bloomed under the UV light. Silence, utter silence. I moved the light to the botanical page. Same reaction, bright purple, radiating from the dampness. Julian's face went white. Chloe gasped, visibly recoiled. The court evaluator leaned forward, frowning. What is that? I looked up, my voice suddenly clear, strong, devoid of any confusion. That, I said, meeting Julian's terrified gaze, is a chemical identifier embedded in the paper. It proves, unequivocally, that these documents are forgeries, created on paper stock stored right here, in this house. I turned to the evaluators, to Dr. Thorne. My grandnephew Julian and his associate Ms. Chloe Dubois have been systematically replacing my genuine collection with high-quality fakes, while selling the originals. Julian spluttered. That's absurd, Aunt Beatrice. You're confused. Am I countered, my voice like ice. I reached down, pressed a button on the clock radio sitting innocuously on a nearby shelf. Their voices filled the room, clear recordings, Julian mocking me, bragging about the forgeries, detailing the medication tampering, Chloe discussing ink formulas, their Vega's dreams, everything. Gasps from the evaluators. Dr. Thorne looked utterly appalled. Furthermore, I continued, calmly pulling out dated sealed bags containing the placebo inhalers and diluted pills. They have been deliberately manipulating my medication to induce symptoms of illness and confusion, to support their fraudulent claim for conservatorship. I placed my own meticulous health logs on the table, showing my decline, and then my sudden improvement, coinciding precisely with when I secretly resumed my correct medication. Dr. Thorne has copies of my recent blood work, confirming the medication levels, or lack thereof. Dr. Thorne nodded grimly. The medical evidence is conclusive and deeply disturbing. Julian lunged, maybe to grab the recorder, maybe to run, but it was too late. The court evaluator was already on his phone, speaking urgently. Police required immediately. Yes, fraud, elder abuse, possible attempted harm, bring forensics. Chloe just stood there, frozen, tears streaming down her face, not tears of remorse, I suspect, but tears of defeat. Julian turned on me, his face contorted with hate. You old witch, he hissed. No, Julian, I replied, meeting his glare without flinching. Just underestimated. The police arrived quickly. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable, the marked forgeries, the recordings, the tampered medication, the medical reports. Julian and Chloe were arrested on the spot, led away in handcuffs, their charming facades shattered, revealing the ugliness beneath. The aftermath was messy, but cleansing, like lancing a wound. Legal proceedings followed. Swift, decisive, Julian and Chloe faced a barrage of charges: forgery, grand theft, fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, medication tampering, attempted grievous bodily harm. Given the sheer volume of evidence, the cold-blooded nature of their scheme, the courts showed no leniency, long prison sentences, for both of them, their futures ruined as they deserved. Recovering my stolen legacy, that took time. Authorities, working with international art crime units, managed to track down many of the originals. Some were recovered from unscrupulous dealers, others from private collectors who had bought them in good faith. Not everything came back. Some pieces, unique letters, smaller documents, likely lost forever, a pang of sorrow, but tempered by the justice served. The forgeries, I donated them, clearly labelled as such, to the criminology department of a major university, a teaching tool, a permanent record of Chloe's illicit skill, and their ultimate failure, a final, ironic twist. My home, my sanctuary, needed cleansing too. I had professionals go through everything, removing any lingering trace of their presence, their deceit. I changed the locks, updated security, reclaimed my space. I reconnected with the friends Julian had pushed away, explained what happened, apologized for the silence. They were horrified, supportive, our bonds, reforged, stronger for the ordeal. My health improved dramatically, with the correct medication, without the constant stress, the gaslighting. I felt years younger, my mind, sharp as ever, my breathing, easier. I revised my will, thoroughly, my collection, what remained, and my home would not go to any family. It would be entrusted to a specialized archival foundation, dedicated to preserving historical documents, ensuring my life's work would be safe, respected, used for education, for research, protected, forever, from greedy hands. Do I regret the coldness, the precision of my revenge? No, not for a second. They didn't just steal things, they tried to steal my mind, my health, my identity, my legacy. They underestimated my love for the truth, the power of meticulous detail, and the fury of a woman betrayed. My life now, it's quiet again, but it's a different quiet, a stronger quiet, warier, yes, but peaceful, vindicated. I still spend hours with my books, my documents. Their whispers seem clearer now, stories of survival, of resilience, of truth enduring. They thought they could erase me, reduce my life to dusty old paper. They failed. My story, now, is one of them. A transition back to narrator's voice perspective. Wow, just wow, Beatrice's story, it leaves you breathless, doesn't it? The audacity, the cruelty of what Julian and Chloe did. It's hard to comprehend, tampering with her medication, gaslighting her, stealing her life's work piece by piece, while smiling to her face. It's monstrous. But Beatrice, her strength, her mind, the way she turned her skills, her archivist's precision, into weapons, it's incredible. That moment with the UV light, revealing the forgeries, the hidden recordings, the meticulous documentation, it wasn't just justice, it was a performance, a devastatingly effective reclaiming of her power, her reality. It makes you think, doesn't it, about trust, about family, about the hidden strengths we all possess, waiting for the right, or perhaps the wrong, circumstances to emerge. Beatrice found peace, but on her own terms. After unleashing a storm, it was harsh. The consequences for Julian and Chloe were severe, uncompromising, but was it excessive, or was it exactly the justice they deserved? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts on this one. This story is a powerful reminder. Never underestimate quiet strength, never dismiss the wisdom or the potential fury of those who have lived longer, learned more, and never, ever, mistake meticulousness for weakness. Thank you for listening, for letting me share Beatrice's incredible journey with you. If this story moved you, shocked you, resonated with you, please consider subscribing and sharing it. These stories need to be heard. I'm Victoria. Join me next time for another unforgettable story. Until then, stay aware, stay strong.